My first fight ever, I got paid $1,100 because my opponent did not make the weight. Otherwise, I would have probably made even less because I got 30% of his purse. This is Georges St-Pierre, and this is how I spend and save my first $1 million. I'm born in Montreal, Canada. I grew up in Saint-Isidore, the South Shore, where there's a lot of farms, not a lot of things going on. I got into karate at first because I was bullied at school. I didn't know what I wanted to become until I saw the first UFC on TV when I was a teenager. I was at school, but I was studying more because it was the right thing to do and because my parents pushed me. We didn't have a lot of money when I grew up. We were not poor either because I ate every day. I had money for school, but we were not wealthy. I had to work as security in a hip-hop nightclub, as a garbage man. I always find time to train, working and studying in the same time. My number one priority, my number one goal is to become champion in Ultimate Fighting Championship. I fought a few times in local shows. I was undefeated at the time. My first big fight on the local scene, I was fighting a guy named Pete Spratt, a UFC veteran. He probably thought that he was just coming in to collect a paycheck and beat a young kid. I beat him, and that's when the door opened. The UFC recruit me. But at that time, I was not making enough money. Things were so tight to me that I couldn't afford to lose a fight. Because if I would have lost a fight, I would have been in debt. I remember my first fight in UFC, I made $3,000 to show, plus $3,000 to win. Then I had a second fight. I made $4,000 to show, plus $4,000 to win. Then I won that fight by knockout. That fight gave me a chance to go for the title right away. I had a chance to pursue my dream. I was studying and I was working as well. I had like a crazy schedule. I sat down with my parents and I told them, I said, listen, if things doesn't go well, I can always come back to school. But for the next session, I would like to just focus on training because I have a title shot and it's a big opportunity. And they agreed. That's when I started to train full time. I lost that fight, but it made me a much better fighter because I've learned a lot from that experience and I rebound immediately after I finally got myself another title shot and I beat Matt Hughes. So I didn't have to go back to school, go back to my old life. It was after my fight with John Fitch, I had to renew my contract, but I was champion and I was doing pretty well. So if I finished my contract, I had big offers waiting for me. So the UFC decided to renew my contract, and that's when I made my first $1 million. I start working with financial advisor right away. First, because I'm a Canadian citizen, the tax report is very complicated. A lot of athletes, they make the mistake, they don't pay their taxes. So I made sure my structure was solid and all good. So a lot of athletes, I think they start right away to invest on luxury cars, stuff like that, jewelry, but I didn't do that. If I make money, I need to make myself more competent to become better. I traveled the world in order to gain more knowledge and become better. We talked about how I save my money. Now let's talk about how I spend it. The first thing I did is to clear all my parent debt because my parents are the ones that support me since the beginning, They took care of me as a baby, so that was the first thing I did. And when my mom called me crying with my dad on the line and say, "That's your money, we don't need your help," it was like one of the best days of my life. My dad was my first martial art teacher, but he was too busy because he worked like maybe 60 hours a week for 30 years, he never stopped, he loved it. So he put me in a karate school. Paying my parents' debt, $50,000. Second thing that I bought, 2 cars for my parents. Japanese car, Toyota. They didn't really want to have something from me, but I forced them. Their car was broke all the time, and so I bought them a new car. And I want them to have a more luxury car, but they really didn't want it. Like they say, a good Japanese car will be something that will last for long. Like at that time, it was maybe 20, maybe 40,000, I would say 40. $40,000 for my parent cars. I bought myself a car as well, Nissan Xterra. My vehicle was pretty bad, so I needed something safe. And I always love SUV because in Montreal, there's a lot of snowstorm. I also felt that in a SUV, you're normally higher, so it's safer. My biggest fear is to get into a car crash and not being able to do what I love to do in my life. Nissan Xterra, $20,000. One of my sister, she wanted to have her master degree to take care of her family and be able to free herself to pursue her dream. And I gave her money like every few months to keep rolling, Like now she's still doing, she's doing it because she has kids, she's working and she's still doing it. $10,000 for my sister to get her master degree. To tell you the truth, it would be very boring, the show, if I tell you the truth. Like my parent mortgage, my parent cars, my sisters, this. There is nothing else that I did on a short notice that, bang, I spread it, Another $50,000 for my family, gifts, expenses, to help them pursuing their dreams. So this $30,000 is all the friends that I helped who told me that they would pay me back, but they never did. So I help a lot of people, and I would say it's about $30,000 that I lost. It was okay. I helped them get out of bad situation, but the thing is, when you start making a lot of money, you get a lot of people coming at you. And everybody has problems. The easy way to get out of financial problems is to borrow money from someone you know, take it, and never give it back. If you lend money to someone, make sure you can afford to lose it. I spent a lot of money traveling around the world to learn new fighting skills. I went to Thailand to learn muay-thaï. I went to Brazil to get better at jiu-jitsu. In New York to get better in jiu-jitsu as well. I went to Los Angeles train with Freddie Roach, a famous boxing coach, to get better boxing skills. France to work on my striking skills as well, because I knew I couldn't stay in Montreal here in order to grow and become a better fighter. I needed to learn expertise from others. And when I say traveling, I'm talking about training, classes, the food, airplane, the hotels. That's a lot, yeah. $200,000 now. Traveling for training, $200,000. It's hard to become champion, but it's even harder to stay champion because you become the target. So that's why when I made my first $1 million, I spent a lot of money and I invested on myself, in order to get better. I bought myself a jacuzzi and a ice bath so I can switch. I believe it helped my body to recuperate better when I have very hardcore training session. I spent about, I would say, $15,000 to $20,000 on that. And it was a good investment, I have to say. The last thing that I bought with my first million, it was a condo. $500,000, but I needed to do renovation in it, and it cost me about $100K. Condo plus renovation, $600,000. So I'm really into dinosaur fossil. I love paleontology, and I bought for, I would say, $20,000. Megalodon tooth, mosasaurs, jaw, Tyrannosaurus rex, all kinds of different animals that used to live a long time ago. At the time I was studying, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but now I know that if I would not be a fighter, I would be a paleontologist, and I would probably be on the field digging. And paleontology, I love it because you learn about the past, and if you learn about the past, you can understand the present better and predict the future. Whereas my head coach gave me another megalodon tooth, a big one. It was my favorite fossil that I have because it represents the alpha predator, the GOAT predator of all time. That tooth that I have, at one point I was fixing my sound system It made a lot of noise and it vibrate, and my tooth fell on the floor and broke. But I still have it today. I can't glue it, it shatters in pieces. Dinosaur fossil, 20K. When you start making money in combat sport, you have to keep in mind that it's very hard to reach the top, but it's very easy to go back down. Make sure to invest on yourself, because if you don't get better, the game will catch up to you. So you need to make sure that you invest on yourself, get new knowledge, make sure you have treatment in order to recuperate better. So invest this thing on yourself. If I would have go back in time and tell the kid that I was that one day I will become world champion in mixed martial art, I think I will believe, because I always knew that I had all the tools. I worked very hard, and also I was very lucky because I had the chance to meet incredible mentors, and the stars were all aligned for me. When a door opened to me, I was getting in. If the door were all closed, I was breaking in it to create my own opportunity. I grew up in Saint-Isidore, Quebec, Canada, and the mayor of the city called me and says that this coming summer will be the inauguration of a statue of me in fighting pose that they will put in the middle of the center of the city. So it's a great honor for me. Like Rocky Balboa, but in the small town of Saint-Isidore. That's what it will be like. Thank you, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.